good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are listening to us from. Today's Power Boost, as always, we want to bring you something that you can take with you for not only the rest of the day, but for the rest of your life. So our topic today is being present in the present, being present in the present. And what we mean by that, what we're talking about is your awareness, because it is what we are aware of that informs our actions. And so even though awareness is usually not in the foreground, it impacts the decisions that we make. And for example, you don't usually think about what day it is. You are usually aware of that, though, and you would act accordingly, not only in terms of what day it is, in terms of what time it is, what season it is, in terms of where you are, or what nationality you are, or what gender you are, even what you might consider your profession or your class status, certainly your race and ethnicity. These are things that are not in the foreground, but they inform the kinds of behavior that we have as we go through our daily lives. So much so that it really is a measure of our, we can say, our consciousness. And so, for example, if you were to fall and the paramedics were called because people around you are concerned that you might have been severely injured, maybe even a slight concussion, they would ask you certain questions that would indicate whether you're okay. So they might ask you what city you're in. They might even ask you what day it is or what time it is. They might even ask you, what are you noticing around you, and so on. And depending on how you answer, they would know whether you need more or less medical attention. So you can see how that would determine how you act and how you respond to situations, especially when it comes to being aware of your gender and so on. So again, these are not things that you have in your foreground, but they certainly are there in the background and inform how you behave and how you respond. And so this is so important that when it's overlooked, when there is some clear indication that you are unaware, It means that you are, you could even say in a sense, unconscious, and you have to be awakened, which is what the paramedic is concerned about, the extent to which you are present. And that's why we call this short meditation we're having with you today being present in the present, because we want that you take away from this a very good understanding of the importance of your awareness and how you can be present such that all of your actions, all the decisions you make are the right ones. And where I'm going with this morning is with regard to who you are. And so you can imagine that if you don't know who you are, or your understanding of who you are is inaccurate, then every decision that you make based on that misunderstanding, every decision that you make with regard to your awareness of who essentially you are, would be misinformed, would lead you to make the wrong decisions, would have you see yourself in a different context and not be very clear in terms of the direction you're going in, or even where you are coming from, and certainly not where you are at the moment. And from time to time, that is what you must take stock of. You must be present to who you are. So if you, as for so many of us, before we came into this knowledge and began to meditate and understand the self, if you think that you are this physical entity, this body, if you think that who you are is what you see in the mirror, if your identity is with this costume, if you will, that you're in, then every decision that you're making is one based on that. And the one especially that is causing us so much anxiety and fear is with regard to the fact that if you are a body, then you have what we might say is a shelf life, and that you are going to die. So if you're living, as so many of us are, in fear of dying, or in fear of being hurt, or in fear of how people are judging you, or how you are seeing yourself, then that leads to the kinds of actions that we're taking, not only with regard to how we see ourselves, but especially how we relate. I don't have to tell you that if you see yourself, if you are aware of yourself in this mistaken way, how that would lead to, in many cases, disaster. For example, if you see yourself as a young Black male and you have that awareness of who you are, and you were stopped by the police driving somewhere. And of course, that is the police officer's understanding of who you are as well. Then both of you are mistaken. And as a consequence, that leads to all of the trouble that we have when two people are interacting with each other based on an awareness of self that is not only being misapplied and misunderstood, but also in that particular case, one that leads to the kind of outcomes that is so negative. And so you want to be able to have a relationship that makes it very clear who you are. And that awareness of you as this eternal, indestructible being that is beyond harm, that is already, always, permanently here and everlasting, then you can see how that would inform how you face the world and what kind of actions that you take regarding yourself and those around you. And so this morning and for the rest of the day, try to put yourself into that perspective. Try to begin to have that shift in consciousness. And so that awareness of you being this temporary being that only has this incomplete and unwholesome understanding of self, once you begin to shift that awareness, then that immediately informs the kind of actions that you now take. You would take actions of one who is not afraid. You would take actions of one who is not jealous. You would take actions of one who has the kind of self-esteem and self-respect that is not dependent on what others see or what you see and what others think about you. And so this is the awareness that is unfortunately prevailing in our world. And without reservation, you can see that with that understanding, we have a world that is confused. We have a world that is in conflict. So if the paramedic accepts that who you are when he asks you that question, and maybe you just volunteer your name and he accepts that and you accept that, you're both mistaken. And so it's that mistaken identity, that misunderstanding, that misapplication of ourselves as this physical entity that has a shelf life is what we want to change. And as you begin to think about that, you can see how that would change your relationship with the world, your relationship with the family, your relationship with others, your relationship with the whole human family. And so wherever you are listening to this, just pause and go within. And remember that you are the listener. You're not the sound. You are the experiencer, not the experience. That you are beyond harm. That you are eternal. In fact, we could say that you were never born, and therefore you can't die. So sit with that right now and see how that changes your perspective. See how you can then be this detached observer. See how you can become free of anxiety. See how that you can become fearless and have no fear of the future. More importantly, see how you can take full responsibility for it. So that is the power that we want you to be able to walk away from this boost with. But this is not a temporary boost. This is a permanent boost. And in fact, all the power you need, you already have. And this is about releasing that power. And that way you can be really fully aware and present. And most important of all, be content and happy. Om Shanti.